Good morning, beloveds. I'm having issues. I have a new phone. Every now and again, it does things I don't expect. Apparently, sometime in the last 24 hours, I locked it. I locked the position on the phone, the camera. So I was like, I had to figure that out. Fortunately, I've done that before, so it just took me a minute to remember. Oh, maybe I should turn that on. The one thing I'm still struggling with, because I've literally had this phone almost. It'll be like 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'll have had it for a week. I don't know how to turn the ringer off. Like, I know how to silence my phone, but I thought I'd silenced my phone, and then my text message notification still came on. And right now, it's an actor saying surprise. So if you hear that, I'm still learning. Because I was afraid to put it in do not disturb. I was afraid to put it in do not disturb because I was afraid if I put it in do not disturb, then you wouldn't be able to hear me. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to figure this out. I may actually have to get out the instruction book and look. Because nobody reads instruction books, right? Or is that just me? Okay. It is February 27th. Our title is There Is No Death, and I Will Never Die, for I Am Spirit. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O God. Therefore the children of humanity put their trust under the shadow of thy wings. And that is Psalm 36, line 7. All right. One of the greatest, if not the greatest delusions is all right. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, delusions that pursue the human mind is the idea of death. Yet this idea is contrary to all nature and to all reason and logic. It is inconceivable that a just God would create a temporary person to flourish and then to wither. If God is an eternal creative presence and mind, then God's creation must be equally eternal. We should constantly deny the possibility of extinction or of supernatural future heaven and hell. God is the life of people, and God's idea of life can only include progression and unfoldment and evolution. If the universe is evolving, then we must be evolving also. We are consciousness living in mind, and our bodies are secondary. At the right time, we release our bodies and move on into larger realms of mental experience. All mourning is self-pity, and all belief in death is contrary to God and God's idea of people. My mind is an eternal function of the one mind, God. It never started and it will never stop. I am a spiritual being, born of the Spirit, living as the Spirit, moving on to larger activities of the Spirit. There is no belief in death in my consciousness. I know that I shall always be an individualized expression of God, forever expanding in wisdom and love. I give thanks for my present world and its vital activities, but I know that I shall always have a similar world with equally similar activities. I have no fear of change. I trust in God, the good, and to move me forward at the right time and in the right way. I greet the future with confidence, and I work this day with joy and freedom. All right. I'm going to take issue with Ernest, because occasionally I do. And the issue that I'm going to take with him is all mourning is self-pity. I mean, to a degree, he's right, but it sounds harsh, it sounds cold, and I think it's just rude. So I'm going to take issue with him on the idea of mourning. Now, I do not take issue with him on the idea of death, because I agree with him. A just God wouldn't create us just to wither and die. So yes, I do firmly believe that there is more to this life than this body. because that's exactly what this is. This is a body. This is a vehicle which allows me to exist and do in this particular plane of existence. I believe that there are other planes of existence. I believe that there will be other vehicles. I don't know about other vehicles. Have I had other bodies here? I took the class on reincarnation. I did. And Ernest doesn't exactly believe in reincarnation, but he does. He believes that the essence of us goes on, but he doesn't believe that we come back here. So take that with a grain of salt. I also know that he wrote that line about self-pity long before he lost his beloved Hazel. Because when Hazel, his wife, died, it broke his heart. You can read about how sad it was for him. And he only lived, I think 18 months past her. He definitely went full on into the self-pity, as any reasonable person would. So sometimes Ernest or Raymond say things that come off a little harsh, and take them with a grain of salt, that they don't mean them to be as harsh as they are. Mourning is definitely for the living, because we know that those who have moved on, those who have shed this particular material form, we know that they have moved on and are in a new experience and having a wondrous new experience in a new form. The mourning is for us, because they're in the next room, but they're in the next room that we can't get to while wearing this. And so, we should mourn, because it's a natural human expression of experience. And when we try not to, the emotions come out sideways. Grief will not be denied. It will not be denied. And so we must observe the rituals that are meaningful to us in grief. All right. So sometimes I talk about what Ernest talks about, and sometimes I'm like, let me scold Ernest for a minute. I don't agree with him. I need to move the cat. Oh, okay, so the title is There Is No Death, and I Will Never Die, for I Am Spirit. Woof. And considering what's going on in the world, I'm directly referencing Ukraine, that's kind of a heavy topic for today. And then I commend the psalm to you, Psalm 36. This particular one is 7. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O God. Therefore, the children of humanity put their trust under the shadow of those wings. And that is what we are working on right now, especially with Ukraine, is for everybody involved in that going on both sides of the border to remember the kindness of God. To remember who they are, to remember that they are beloved children of God, and to act like it. All right, so one of the greatest, if not the greatest, delusions is that pursue the human mind is the idea of death. Oh yeah. Because it literally makes people crazy. I saw a meme last night that said death doesn't stop, or fear doesn't stop death. It stops living. And when we fear death, we stop living. We stop going out and doing. Taking appropriate precautions is a good thing, but don't stop living. Yet this idea is contrary to all nature and to all reason and logic. I'm going to let Ernest argue that one. It's life. We were given an ego for a reason, and the ego is to protect life. When we let ego run away with that job is when we tend to endanger others' lives, i.e. Ukraine. That is definitely Putin running away with his ego. Okay. It is inconceivable that a just God would create a temporary person to flourish and then to wither. I agree with Ernest. If God is an eternal creative presence and mind, then God's creation must be equally eternal. So we are equally eternal, but the form that we are taking, matter is not eternal. Matter changes. Therefore, the particular material form that we wear is not eternal, but the essence of us is. We should constantly deny the possibility of extinction or of a supernatural future heaven and hell. And there, right there, Ernest is telling you straight up, he doesn't believe in heaven and he doesn't believe in hell. Because he believes that heaven is right here, right now. Heaven is a state of consciousness, just as hell is a state of consciousness. You can live in heaven or hell right now, in the material form that you are in. They are not places, but states. God is the life of humanity, and God's idea of life can only include progression, unfoldment, and evolution. Because that's what God's doing all the time. That's what Ernest argues. If the universe is evolving, then we must be evolving also. Because we're made of God's stuff. We are consciousness living in mind, and our bodies are secondary. They are material. They are not who we are. And a whole lot of our neuroses could be let go of if we could let go of the idea that our body is who we are. A lot of the things like fat shaming or thin shaming or, all of that could go away if we could let go of the idea that we were our body. Or ableist nonsense, or gender nonsense, or, all of the things that we get on each other's nerves about and harm each other over could go away if we could give up the idea that our body is who we are. At the right time, we release our bodies and move on into larger realms of mental experience. You want to know what Ernest thinks? Well, there you go. Now you know. That's exactly what Ernest believes. All mourning is self-pity, and all belief in death is contrary to God and God's idea of humanity. All right. But self-pity is okay. Mourning people who have moved onto their next existence is okay. Don't take the phrase for as harsh as it sounds. It's not. My mind is an eternal function of the one mind, God. It never started and it will never stop. I am a spiritual being, born of spirit, living in the spirit, and moving on to larger activities of the spirit. So right there, that sentence would be an excellent one for that moment when, the idea of death grips you. Because it does. We're human. In this material experience, we don't have the before and we don't have the after. And so it's not surprising that, occasionally the fear of death is going to rise up, grab us by the throat and make us go, oh my God, and make us rethink our entire life. It's okay. But when it does, a sentence like that will go a long way to helping you, so that you don't stay in that fear. So I am a spiritual being. We are spiritual beings, born of the Spirit, living as the Spirit, and moving on to larger activities of the Spirit. There is no belief in death in my consciousness. I know that I will always be an individualized expression of God, forever expanding in wisdom and love. I give thanks for my present world and its vital activities, but I know that I shall always have a similar world with equally similar activities. This isn't it. This is just one of many. I have no fear of change. I trust in God, the good, to move me forward at the right time and in the right way. It'd be interesting to see the writings right around the time he lost Hazel, to see, to know that, there was a period of time that he lived without her. I think that's part of when he wrote The Voice Celestial. That might explain some things. I greet the future with confidence, and I work this day with joy and freedom. All right, beloveds. Ernest likes to throw curveballs, or the universe likes to throw curveballs, because I'm talking about death on, when there's literally a war going on in Europe. Because one country's ego, the leader of one country's ego, has gotten out of hand, and he has decided, and the country's not okay with the country that is, they're like, no, we are a sovereign country. We have our own culture and our own government, and we're going to stay that way. So, and all we can do is pray for the highest and best of everybody involved. And I'm going to have to wrap my mind around that, because I get to do that closing prayer. All right. So the mission for today. The mission for today, should we choose to accept it, is to have no fear of change. Yeah, I know, that's a big one. A very big one. And it's something that we are going to work on all the time. Because change can be scary and change can be hard. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So it's going to come back to remembering who we are, trusting who we are, and being willing to see that beloved child of God in every form that we meet. So, all right, you got it. That's the mission. The other one that I always give you and always will is the spiritual practice of doing something loving for yourself, doing something kind for yourself, doing something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like. As simple as 3 deep breaths, actually sitting down and enjoying, savoring a cup of tea, coffee, hot chocolate, whatever, taking a nap, taking a walk, taking a day of rest. The point is to do it every day. The point is to do it every day. You deserve your own love, your own kindness, your own compassion. When you practice upon yourself, you are creating a habit, you are creating a default setting, you are creating a first response. Therefore, no matter what happens in or around you, you can respond with love, with kindness, and with compassion. And there is a difference between kindness and niceness, all right? Niceness is about appearance. Kindness is about intention. Because we can be nice and not actually do anything helpful, but we can be kind and do the hard thing, up to and including saying no, and actually make changes. So Bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. I think that's one of the reasons why on that particular regeneration of that particular doctor, he says, always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind. It's like we try to be nice because nice is about appearance, but kindness is about action. So take that action for yourself. All right. And saying no is a loving, kind, and compassionate thing for yourself. So try that on as a spiritual practice, because no, one, is a complete sentence and is a spiritual practice. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move into the process of my day, which means I need to go eat breakfast so that I can get to the service so that we can take care of that. So we will have an amazing service for you. It's the last one in this series. He's been working on the same book for 2 months, and it's been fascinating and interesting. So we'll see how that works today. And as always, I'm going to encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body, whatever that looks like, unless it's a day of rest. Sunday is my day of rest. So, there it is. Get some bright light early in your morning, whatever time your morning is. That'll help reset your hormones. Drink plenty of water, and open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven now. As I said earlier, heaven and hell are states of consciousness. So when you open up to the good, when you look for the good, when you praise the good, when you find more of the good that way, you discover you're living in heaven already. It's not a far off place that we have to wait our entire lives to get to. It's a place that we can live our entire lives in. All right, beloveds, take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and know that you are loved because you are a beloved child of God. It's a state of grace. Doesn't have to be earned, can't be taken away. We can create the illusion, but it is what it is. So, have a great day, an amazing day, a wondrous day, oh my gosh, we might see the sun day, a fantastic day, magical day, an enchanting day, a good day. And if that's too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. All right, beloveds. Like I said, we'll be on Facebook Live around 11 with an amazing service. You can join us in person if you like as well. The doors are open. Or you can catch us later on YouTube if you want to do that. And have, and then whatever else is going on, because there's like 3 book studies going on right now, email info@creativelife.org, and then that way you will know. And then that way, if you're watching this a couple of months later, you're not wondering, what is she talking about? Just get on the constant contact, all right? Find us on the social medias if you need us. I am the Running Rev Ryan, and we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark. So take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.